I grew up with Gene Bjornes in Wapato. He went to school with my older brother, and I think Gene was 5 years older than me. But actually when I first went to college in Ellensburg at Central, back in '74, we were very close. And even prior to that, given the age difference, we associated and we had the same friends. Coming from a small community, small town, we were able to develop a relationship and continue this relationship. But when I moved to Seattle and he was here in Seattle, he was considered a rogue, or here you'd consider him an activist. But he was back in Wapato, you probably would consider him. They would say, well, he's a troublemaker. He was anti-Marcos. He was, he was always getting into stuff, and so that. And I understood, and I was on the same page with them. It's just that, some of the older pioneers or older folks didn't understand what he was, where he's coming from. I understood Gene, and growing up and even associating with him more when we got away from Central Washington, I understood him even more. And so the history that we had together, not necessarily growing up, but after we got out of the town, and associate up in a different part of the state, and actually living with him. We had a house together a couple times. We lived together, and I consider him like my older brother, and he taught me a lot of stuff. In fact, Gene tried to protect me from some of the bad elements in the Union, and he knew that he was a target, given that some of the stuff that he was trying to do within the reform movement. And it was only after his death that I really got into the Union. I truly understood what he was fighting for. And at that time, he tried to protect me from a lot of that. And I never necessarily got involved in a lot of the Filipino politics. Gene was that. It was over my head. And so that with the Union, he also, going up to the Union, I was just basically a worker and trying to just go up there and do the job. But I fell into some of the stuff because I just didn't believe in what they were doing, the practices that they were doing, up at the plant in the cannery. But in terms of the overall politics of the reform and doing that, it wasn't until after the murders that I really got involved. I was involved prior to the murders with some of the ACWA, because Gene was always working there, and I was hanging out and doing paperwork or doing what I could. But I wasn't that necessarily involved in putting together the organizing of the workers, or going out there and being part of the takeover or reform of the Union until after the murders. And then after the murders, then that's where all of us, or not all of us, but majority of us came together.